So I hope today you have a good day, a good beginning of the week. I think I should be posting this tomorrow, so on Tuesday. And yes, so my theme, if you've seen the title, it's gonna be a kind of a look back on what I've read this year, but specifically for the books that came out in 2024. So in general, I'm not someone who picks up books right away as they release. I don't know why. I think it's a thing. I think other people can relate, but when I pick up a book or when I'm excited for a book, usually what happens is I get super excited, I buy it, I think it's super pretty, I put it on my shelf, and then I just wait for it to, like, I don't know, for the right mood to hit, which is not always the best, but it is what it is. Like, that's kind of how I am. And I did want to look back because it's something that I kind of want to work on, especially for like arcs. Like, I don't get too many arcs, but I try to at least make a point to request less, so I make sure to read them during the year they're released. But yeah, it's a work in progress kind of thing. And yeah, so I wanted to do just a look back because we're like end of October, so I would have 2 months to like catch up on a few of this year's releases that I have, that I own, and that I want to read. Of course, if I don't own them, yeah, maybe I get through them to my library because I'm trying to buy a lot less books until the end of the year. So yes, it'll be with the books that I already own. That being said, so if you enjoyed this concept in general, and you know, if you like my videos so far, I know I've been making it less consistently recently, but I kind of want to get back into it. The reading vlog format is kind of a lot of work, but I want to try to keep consistent with like these little videos. So if you enjoy it, you know, remember to like and comment. And yes, let's get on it. So stat-wise, I've read 12 books that were released this year, in a total of 106. It's really not a lot. And I mean, there's a lot of explanations for it. One is because this year I made a point to read as much as possible books that I already own, which means that with a few exceptions, they were mostly books that I own from like many years ago, or at least a year ago. So yeah, I think that explains it, because I think half, if not more, of the books that I read this year are books that I owned. So that explains it. So it would leave only like 50 so books. And because I use a lot of my audiobook and I don't always get access to like the newer ones, that also explains why a big chunk of it didn't go for new releases. And I'm a mood reader, so again, like if I did buy a book, or even if I had the opportunity to have it at the library, if I wasn't in the mood for it, I would like push it back, because I'd rather be in the mood for a book, or else I feel like I wouldn't enjoy it and it would kind of ruin the reading experience. Whereas if I were to pick it up when I'm really excited for it, then, you know, I'm going all in and I feel like I can take more out of the book. But that's just me, I guess. And yeah, so I only read 12 books. I can go through them because it's only 12. So I have them here in my Goodreads. So let's start with the first one that I read was Mislaid in Parts Have Known by Shannon McGuire. So this is part of the Wayward Children series. I think it's number 9, which is a lot. It's a long series. I think it's the longest series I've actually kept up with, and mostly because they're novellas. Mostly because I just love the subject of it too. Novellas help a lot, but I love the way Shannon McGuire made this world. It's infinite, right? You can keep adding on, because every child has their own world, and like not exactly, but almost, like you could make a different world for every new character you would add on. And I know there was a moment that I really enjoyed in the series where it was a lot more interconnected. And now I think we're back. We're like still kind of seeing the characters we met at the beginning, but in another capacity, I would say. So yeah, it's kind of those like long-standing TV shows where every book is its own thing, but in general, there's like, time still passes, you know, so characters still grow up and like things still happen in the background that are like more permanent changes that you see through the series. So yeah, really enjoyed it. So I give it 4 stars, and honestly, I think it deserves it. I love this series. I would highly recommend you if you want like a fantasy, is it what? Yeah, it's YA. Fantasy YA novella series. Yeah, totally recommend it. It's really fun. Again, we are at like volume 9, but they're short. Like, don't get intimidated. It's not like those high fantasy 10 books that are like bricks, you know? So I think if you click with the first 2 novellas, I think you'll enjoy the rest of the novellas. So the second one that I read is Interesting Facts About Space by Emily R. Austin. And that one, I have to say, I read at the beginning of the year and I really don't remember a lot about it. It's just one of those that didn't stick out for me. I remember some things. I remember the whole bald man situation. That was weird. So yeah, I don't think I even remember the ending, honestly. I remember some of the ending, again with the bald man situation, but I think there was a romance involved. I give it 3 stars. I think it was fun at the moment. I think it wasn't badly written. And yeah, I think it was just like a fun moment, but it's not a unfortunately memorable one for me. The other one I read is Neighbors and Other Stories by Diane Oliver. So this is a compilation of short stories that Diane Oliver wrote. She's an African-American author that died really young. I think she died in her 20s. And so yeah, the book is kind of a compilation of all the stories she wrote before she passed away, which is very impressive considering she was that young. And I personally really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 star. I thought the stories were really interesting. I think some stuck out more than others, for sure, but that happens in every short story collection. I think it's a really thoughtful book to have compiled all her stories and make sure that even nowadays it's an author we still know about, or at least we can like learn more about her, because yeah, like before I guess it was more like a foraging of like her stories. There's an introduction by Tayari Jones where she kind of explained how she came upon Diane Oliver. So that was really interesting too. So yeah, if you're into contemporary, it's, I think it's set in the 50s or 60s or something like that. So if you're interested in contemporary literature from that time in the US, I think you would really enjoy it. The next one that I read was What Feasts in the Night by T. Kingfisher. T. Kingfisher. Why do I have such a hard time saying it? T. Kingfisher. I'm sorry. T. Kingfisher. And I really enjoyed it. So this is a sequel to What Moves the Dead, I think. And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed going back with the characters. That was really fun. It's a different vibe, I would say, than the first one, because the first one, you still have the mystery, but I feel like in this one you kind of know earlier what the issue, what's happening, but it's the getting the solution that's really like the stress factor. So I really enjoyed that one too. And yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with T. Kingfisher, honestly. I really enjoy her fantasy. So next that I read, and honestly the other ones that I starting now, there are books that I've already mentioned here, so it means there was a big chunk in time that I didn't read new releases, probably when I was starting to like focus more on my bookshelf, so it makes sense. So the next one that I read was The Great Divide by Cristina Hernandez. So that was for my Latinx Heritage Month. To me, that was a 3 star. I enjoyed it. I would still recommend it if you're interested in like that part of history. I still don't think it's written about enough, you know, like the construction of the Panama Canal. And yes, it's a lot of POVs, so you get like a broad view of what's happening. I personally preferred some of the POVs. I had another thing going in mind, so I enjoyed it, but the parts that I didn't enjoy kind of ruined it for me a little bit. And because I went in with a different mindset, it took me at least like a quarter of the book, if not a third, to really be just accepting that it wasn't gonna be the book that I thought it was gonna be. And it was okay, and it's okay, but yeah. So without going with all this expectation, I think you would enjoy this book. It's really well written. Awful characters also sometimes, like if that's something you don't mind / enjoy to see, like the bad side also of things, there's that. Not too much, thank God, but there's that. And yeah, I liked it. I like there's like 2 specific characters that I really like their point of view, so it was enjoyable. The next was The Angel of Indian Lake by Stephen Graham Jones, and I rambled a lot. Most of my videos I rambled about how much I loved it and how amazing this trilogy is, because it is. And I won't do it again here, but just know that I loved it. To me it was I put 5 stars, maybe more like 4.5, but yeah, for Goodreads purposes it was a 5-star. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. Would still recommend the trilogy, especially now if you're still like looking for like a spooky book to read. That one is pretty good one. The next one is Diavola by Jennifer Marie Thorne, and I really enjoyed that one. It was a bit of a surprise. So yes and no. I feel like I really love vampire stories, made well, if I can say. I've never read the Twilight, and I won't either. Like, let's not go there. But I feel like some tropes are like very vampire-like. So, you know, like the romance part of it, the feeding part of it, the transformation, the living eternally and kind of grappling through with that, the violence of it. So I feel like there's a lot of like common themes that go with like vampire books. I could even make a video if that's something you would want to like hear about. But yeah, Diavola was one which was, I enjoyed it because you had the contemporary that was just as interesting as kind of like the bad things that were happening also. So it's not a dual timeline. It's just that you know that in the castle where they're spending their family holiday, something bad happened. Like, it's super ominous and weird things start happening and everyone kind of knows, but they don't, because they're that kind of people, and they're trying to like talk their way out of thinking something weird is happening. And honestly, having the stress for the character of like, okay, what's happening, you know, the anticipation of what's gonna be the bad thing that's gonna happen, but also having the stress of her having an awful family and even her being like not that great, and just in general like all the family dynamic being so messed up, was just like, I really enjoyed it. Honestly, it was super entertaining. Yes, if you want that kind of book which is like, it's not just horror, it's almost like also family stressful horror if you want. So it's not horror family, of course, but it's everyone is just so tense all the time and they keep fighting for the dumbest thing, and like honestly I could relate a little but that was just extreme. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. That was entertaining. The other one I read was The Cemetery of Untold Stories by Julia Alvarez, and again, I think that was just before Latinx Heritage Month. Yeah, I think that was just before that. And I really enjoyed it. It was fun. I like going through like Julia Alvarez backlist. I've read 3 now, I think, of hers, and even though this one I don't think is my favorite, I still enjoyed it. I like the concept of the Cemetery of Untold Stories, and even though you kind of have to suspend your disbelief a little bit at some points, it's entertaining. Like, I really enjoyed it still, and also like the way it deals with grief also, it's interesting, you know, with like still being close to your family, and yeah, like the whole family dynamic is also discussed, which I think is very interesting, especially if I want to compare Diavola to this one. Family dynamics between like white people and Latinos are very different, and just because of like expectations are different. And mind you, Diavola was like white rich people, so even that I feel like it's different from like other kind of like social classes. Same with Latino, I guess, but yes, as I was saying, it's like very different. So you kind of see that family dynamic. They're all sister too, so that's really fun. Like, I don't have a sister, so I love reading about sister stories. And yeah, it was fun. I give it a 4-star. Then we have The Husbands by Holly Gramazio, and that was, again, it was entertaining, but not more than that. It's still more memorable than the other one because the concept is original enough that it kind of stayed in my mind. So I give it a 3-star. Basically, the story is, there's this woman, I don't remember her name. She's dealing with her ex, or at least like she has broken up for a while, but like she's dealing with those feelings. and then suddenly a man comes out of her grenier. He comes out of her attic or something like that. And anyway, the whole concept is like the guy that comes out of that attic is her husband, and then every time it happens, it's like her whole life switches, so it affects everything, like her relationship with her sister, her relationship with her friends and neighbors, herself too, you know, like her job or whatever. So it changes a lot in that sense. I don't know. I feel like it was entertaining, but I don't think it gave that much food for thought. I think if you're like super indecisive in life, this book will not help you be less indecisive because I feel like even towards like very late in the book, we're still having the same conversations, like what if that's better and what if this is worse and what if I had stayed, and like even in those imaginary situation, as in she stayed with the guy maybe like a week, there's still like regrets from being with that person for a week, but you're like, but you don't know this, like it's been a week, like what do you mean? And you decided not to stay with that guy because you thought something would be better. And I don't know, I feel like I don't remember the ending being like satisfactory because I don't think there's that much character growth. Yeah, I'm not gonna spoil the end, so I really don't remember exactly how it ends. It's just, yeah, it's entertaining, but I don't think you'll take that much away from the book. But yeah, maybe that's just me. So the one that I finished, and actually recently, is The Black Girl Survives in This One. So that's an anthology. I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. Some of the stories were really creepy, and I actually tabbed some of new authors that I found also. I'm like really excited to like see the books they came out with so I can like discover them. But yeah, I think there were like 4 new authors that I like really enjoyed their short story, and like to be fair, maybe the other authors I would enjoy them too, but in longer format. Like maybe their short story didn't work, but maybe in longer format they would work. So that's something I try to keep in mind too. But yeah, some I like tabbed as in like I really enjoyed their short story. I want to know more about this author. So yeah, really enjoyed. Again, if you're looking for like a horror book to pick up like this week, actually this is great. It's an anthology, so you could just read a story. You could like take a moment and read like 30 pages and at least have one spooky story, and then, you know, read more if you want to. But I feel like it's an interesting format, the anthology. It's really fun. The other one I read, and that one I don't know. I don't know if it's controversial. I don't think it is The Age of Magical Thinking by Amanda Montell, I think. And that one I gave 2 stars. So let me explain. I read Cultish by her, which I really enjoyed. It was very like introductory, and there was sometimes we were like moving away from Cultish, and it was a lot of like what had happened to her, that were kind of in the theme. So anyway, Cultish was really enjoyable. I enjoyed it. And going with this like mindset that yes, she kind of like veers off sometimes, and she does bring personal experiences. The Age of Magical Thinking I thought was gonna be so fun because there was gonna be the theory or her research about it, and like some fun and interesting facts about it, and then, you know, you round it up with like my perspective or things that I've seen happen around me or something like that. What actually happened is that it's mostly stories of her life. It was not interesting. It was like, she has a way, I listened to it on audiobook, she has a way of writing that's really entertaining. So it would be like listening to a podcast or something. It's very much like listening to a podcast because it's like her personal experiences, and she kind of brings in this, oh sorry, did I say it right? It's the Age of Magical Overthinking. Sorry, I don't think I've said the title right. So she kind of brings in this overthinking theme, but like not in a way that was that interesting. especially if I were to compare it to Cultish, which I think the balance was way better, and that there was actually a lot of interesting facts, but or at least different points of views that you can then research, because you know, like, it's very entry level. But this, there was I don't think there was almost any facts that were like interesting, because there was a lot of her life, and then her life with her boyfriend, and then school, I think, and her parents, and I don't know. And it's not like I went in knowing it was like an autobiography. You know, like if I had gone in knowing that it was an autobiography, then that's different, right? Like I go in knowing that it's gonna be about her life, whoever this person is, that would be on me. But that is not sold like that. This is sold as really like very like similar to Cultish, but about overthinking. And I think even it's notes on muttered irrationality. Okay, what about it? What about modern irrationality? I feel like there's a lot to talk about. It wasn't for me. I don't know if I would recommend it. Honestly, if you go into it knowing that it's mostly about her life. So if you want to read a biography about Amanda Mantell, sure, like go at it. You'll enjoy it. I think a lot more than I did, because I don't know who Amanda Mantell is. If I had known it was a biography, an autobiography, I don't think I would have read it. I don't think so. So yeah, it was a 2-star for me. I don't have a lot of 2 stars, so that one is... It's not that harsh, because I don't think it's badly written. I just think it's like way badly marketed. Like don't say it's a non-fiction about a subject when it's actually an autobiography. Like just say it's an autobiography. So yeah, anyways, that was my rambling on that one. And then the last one that I read was The Bridges of High Heel by Nevo. That's another series novella that I really enjoy. I think that one is the 5th one. So yeah, that's the 5th one. I really enjoyed that one. I think maybe not for everyone, because the last one maybe like more happens, but the first 2 I think they're more low-key and like setting the world building a little bit of like, you know, the role of the main character, how it works, you know. They kind of like accumulate stories, and they have their companion, and anyways, like it's really interesting. I really enjoy it. I love fantasy novellas, especially the ones that go like really, really deep. And I feel like that one is like you're brought into this world that's completely different, and that has its own rules. And even every time the main character goes to different places, those places have their own rules, and you kind of learn it through those novellas. And they're very short, so I think Nevo does a great job of like condensing everything in such a like small format. And yeah, this one was no exception. I really enjoyed it. I was a little bit confused at the beginning, because I didn't know where we were going with the story. And then once we continued and it unraveled a little bit, I thought it was really fun. And even had like an edge of horror at some point, which I thought was really interesting. I feel like in a few of them there was like a little edge of horror, because either their life is endangered or there's like something spooky going on. And so yeah, that's kind of an aspect that's in, I think, in most of the novellas in this series, but definitely this one like stuck out to me because there was a very creepy moment. So yeah, those are the books that I actually read that came out this year, that I read this year. It's not a lot. So like I said, 12 books out of 106 is not too many. So I do want to make an effort to read. I still like a couple of more that came out this year. And the 2 that I'm going to read are going to be Such Lovely Skin by Tatiana Schlottbahn. I don't know. I haven't seen that many people read it, but I'm very interested in it. And then the other is going to be Helga by Catherine Yu. Another cute, funny horror story that I can read this month. I mean, the month is ending, but like in November too. So I think those are the 2 extra books that I'm going to read that came out this year. This came out in August and this came out in September. So these are the 2 that I'm going to read before the end of the year. And so I'll have like 14 books read. And I think it's enough. Honestly, it's not one of my challenges to read book as they get published. The only challenge I had for myself this year was to read more from my bookshelves, which so far so good. Like I said, like more than 50% of the books that I read are from my shelf, so I'm very satisfied. I did quite a dent actually with reading the graphic novels. So as you've seen in my previous reading vlog, I really went through a lot of graphic novels, so that was really fun. So yeah, that's it for the video. Let me know if there's any 2024 releases that you actually read in 2024 and that you really enjoyed and that I should pick up. I know there's like, I have a list of 2024 releases that I want to buy, that they're in my wish list. If I can name just a few. Pink Slime by Fernanda Trias. That's one that I really want to read. A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher. That I also really, and I've seen some of the hardcovers and it's beautiful. Like that's a really pretty book to own. Graveyard Shift by ML Rio, because I really enjoyed their other book. Let's see, I have a lot. Catalina by Carla Cornejo Villavicencio. I read her other book. I really enjoyed it. I can't remember the title. But anyway, Catalina is her new book. I really want to get it. The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. Oh, it's such a beautiful cover. And yes, I enjoyed, not her last book because I haven't read it yet. The Unknown World, I think it's her book. That 5 stars, really loved it. So God of the Woods, I heard it was really great too, so that one I want to read. And another one, The Invocations by Crystal Sutherland, which I really enjoyed her previous one, so I was kind of waiting. I think it was supposed to come out last year maybe, or at the beginning of the year, and it kept getting delayed. But yeah, I really enjoyed her other books, so I think this one I'll enjoy it too. I feel like it has the same kind of vibe. So those are the 2024 books that I don't own yet and probably won't get to them before the end of the year, but that they're still like in my radar. I really want to get them eventually. But yes, let me know in the comments if there's any 2024 releases that you're excited to either like to read or that you've read and that you recommend. And yes, I'll see you in a video soon. You'll be seeing my reading vlog really soon. And because I don't know that I'm gonna talk to you before, happy Halloween, enjoy, be safe, and happy reading. Bye.
Yo tengo lo mío, yeah. No estoy pendiente a lo que tú estás haciendo, que yo no la estoy rompiendo, yeah. Tú mismo te estás